In this video, I'll discuss optical mixing and compare it to the Bezold or assimilation effect. You may not have heard of this effect, but it's very important in art. And it's in my book, the art instruction course, Color and Light, with a link to the book at the bottom of this video. Optical mixing occurs when you place small dots or lines of separate colors immediately next to one another, so your eye puts them together to make a completely new color. And this occurs with digital screens where the red, green, and blue pixels combine to make a full range of colors. Unlike physically mixing pigments, which often muddy colors, optical mixing retains the color saturation of each little dot, and as a result, it creates a vibrating quality that often feels much more alive than mixed paints. Optical mixing often keeps the values of the colors the same, but what do you do when the colors have very different values, like light yellow and dark blue? Well, you have to lighten the blue so that it has the same value as the yellow, or you can use normal blue and darken the yellow so it's as dark as the blue. And in that way, when you squint and look at this, it starts to merge together. And this keeps the composition strong because from a distance, it still maintains the structure of the object, but when the viewer comes up close, he sees all the different colors. These three colors have the same values as shown by the grayscale. You can make them more interesting by varying the temperature, such as this cool blue and the warmer magenta. The colors could cover different areas or have different saturations without much change in their values. Let's compare a blue sky to a golf course. Which one do you think is lighter? You would probably say the blue sky, but if you convert the blue sky to a grayscale and the golf course to a grayscale and then connect them with the value bar, you can see that they're actually the same value. So why does the sky feel so much lighter? Well, one reason is the saturation difference. The blue sky is much more saturated than the green grass, so the sky seems lighter. Also, we expect the sky to be lighter because it's the source of light, whereas the ground absorbs light. And then finally, there are white clouds in the sky that make the blue lighter than it really is, whereas the golf course has trees that make it darker than it really is. So when you paint a sky, you should not necessarily paint the correct value that's in the photograph, because that often makes it look too heavy and dark. So you might want to paint your skies a little lighter than it appears in reality. The Bezold or spreading effect occurs when the eye blurs values together. This black box makes the blue background look darker than does the white box, even though they're the same color and value as shown by the bar connecting them. This occurs when the lines and shapes aren't small enough to result in optical mixing, but too fine to trigger simultaneous contrast. And in fact, it is the opposite to simultaneous contrast. Here, we're averaging values together, whereas with simultaneous contrast, it accentuates the differences. Let's go back to our comparison of the sky, which seems lighter than the golf course. If we impose the Bezold or spreading effect, we can darken the clouds here, so now this blue looks darker than this blue. Similarly, I added white areas to the golf course, so now this green looks lighter than this green. And then when we compare this sky to this golf course, I think you would agree that the golf course now looks lighter. A good use of the Bezold effect is if you want to lighten or darken the background without actually changing it. So this dark background looks darker than this one. It's particularly useful for patterns, and it helps unify the image. Check out my book, The Art Instruction Course, Color and Light. I put the link at the bottom of this video. And please remember to subscribe.